Has Mick shown you certain things when he started working with you? Because he was coming from a sort of different side of the music.
No, not really.
Not really. The other thing to bear in mind, I think, is that you were talking about Paul's old band. I think some of the influences that Paul had probably always had, other than jazz and classical things, you know, R&B and soul, say, they're things that they're hard to assimilate for an English musician, I think, in an honest and natural way. And you have to be confident of your ability, of your, you know, your playing ability, before you can actually come out with something that to you is directly influenced by that field of music and sounds okay. I'm not talking about imitation or anything. I'm just saying it's like that music, as compared with pop or whatever you want to put it, has got a kind of maturity which a lot of sort of pop music lacks. So I think that's like a natural sort of thing that you feel more confident kind of bringing into your music as you get older.
It is safe to say that you're making a serious pop music, if you can term it like that, for the difference what's happening in the marketplace nowadays, which is rather disposable pop music. How do you look upon the rest of the music and your place within such a market?
Well, that always sounds like an arrogant statement, but I do feel that we're outside of most of it. And people can make their own minds up whether that's good or bad, but I'd definitely say we are outside of most pop music. Although it's still pop, it's not like we're pretending it's something else, you know. And I think that makes things quite difficult for us. But if people can perceive what we're trying to do, then I think it's quite a conquest for us, really. You know, if people can see what we're trying to do and see its worth, then I think it's even more worthwhile doing it. I mean, especially with this new LP and the first side, which initially I think people might find a bit strange at first, but to understand that we're trying to do something different and trying to create something different to maybe what they've heard before, then I think that's worthwhile. You know, but pop's seen on so many different levels, it's hard to say. You know, there's a kind of very ephemeral level where it's just in the charts one week and out the next. And then there's your serious artists, which I think sometimes are, you know, just another word for being overindulgent and quite boring, really. I don't know, it's a shame there's not a kind of middle ground. It's so polarised that it's hard to fit in, really.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. By the nature of the marketplace, whatever single is chosen from the album has to compete with all those pop stars, which I presume you have no respect for.
Well, some are okay, you know. It depends really. But I don't know. I don't really want to criticise anyone in particular.
No, I didn't want you to criticise, but doesn't this continue that you really have to go to the same market, you know, and try to appeal to the same record-buying public?
Well, that's another thing entirely, isn't it? And that comes along once you've made the record. You know, you've made the record that's pleased yourself. I mean, and you've made that in your own little box, isolated from the rest of the world, and then you have to let it out. It's a bit like worrying about a little child or something. How's it going to get out? Look after itself in the big old bad world of pop music there. Will it be able to fight for itself if someone bullies it and all that?
Should it be immunised or not?
Yeah. But you don't know until you try that, and that's the part of the game you can't get out of. We don't really play the game, I think, but there is a section of the game where everyone has to play. Like, you have to release the records. Not that we're against that.
It'd be nice if we could have a mail order, a mail order firm instead. That'd be quite good, I think.
Yeah, it would be quite nice. It's difficult, you know. We're keen to get hit singles. We don't see ourselves specifically as an album band or a single band.
And
at varying times we've been told we're both, haven't we?
Yep.
the simplest summarization would be that you are musicians making music. In whichever form it comes out is entirely up to somebody else, the record company, or whatever demands of the market are.
I guess so, yeah. I mean, we're keen to be commercial.
Well, we're keen to be popular.
Yeah.
You know,
Whatever the correct word is for it, without chasing trends, you know.
We don't want to just create create this music in a vacuum and just keep it to ourselves, you know. We want to get across to as many people as we can. And we play the game as well to some extent. I mean, but for me, in fact, we do Top of the Pops every time or whatever. But it's, I don't know, it's difficult. It gets more and more difficult as well. The more kind of set ideas you have on it and what you should be doing, it becomes increasingly difficult.
Obviously, recording music is a very exciting process. How do you look upon the other fringe duties you have to do, like interviews, promoting, going to the studios, TV studios, appearing? Can that become boring?
I find most of that a drag, but it's necessary, I suppose. But that's the side I could do without. I mean, my ultimate plan would be for us to get to a stage where we could just create music and get it across to a certain audience without having to do any of that. But I don't know if that's possible or not, really.
Not right now, I don't think.
I guess not.
No.
In some more just world, yes. But right now, no.
No. But that would be the ultimate plan in my mind.
It is said that the further into one's career, the more difficult it gets, writing songs and so on. Have you found that yourself, or do you still find an easy inspiration and easy way to work?
Probably a year and a half ago, I would have said it does get more and more difficult. But since making this LP, I've changed my mind, because I still realise there's loads of other avenues to explore. I think a year and a half ago, I would have said it probably does get more and more difficult. But since making this album, I've changed my opinion on it, because I realise there's loads of other ways of writing, and you can get kind of hung up with kind of just getting too involved in your own style or how people see your style of writing. You know, it's like I was talking about lyrics earlier on, which these lyrics are quite a departure for me, I think, anyway. And more than that, I realise I can develop them even more so. And there's lots of other different ways of writing, you know, you haven't got to be stuck in one highly stylised way. So I find that quite exciting, and I also feel that musically, I can still develop as a songwriter. So I think you have to kind of get yourself excited about it, really, and not see it as a chore or a job. And I really got a lot of pleasure from writing this stuff on this LP. So I'm going to try and continue in that more of a kind of positive vein, and just work on it and try and develop the ideas more and try out different styles of writing. So I think you have to look further than what you do or what you've done. I think maybe that's the key to it.
Mick appears to be a silent partner. Is he really as silent as he appears to be?
Has he had a drink or not?
No,
I think that's fair to say about a lot of people, really.
No, I mean,
To
in a
some
studio, does he voice his opinion and, work really on par with you?
I don't know, we both have our different moods and different days, really. But we're both more involved in this record, I think it's fair to say. Would you not?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Maybe more than usual, I don't know, I can't tell. We don't really have too many disagreements in the studio, and we normally sort of go along the same lines, our thoughts go along the same lines, so it makes things a lot easier, it's more conducive to a happy way of working.
Are you saying that you're rather too reasonable to have disputes? According to some reports from several years ago, you were on the brink of a split up.
Well, that was all.
No, I know it was, but I mean, are you too, really reasonable that you can talk over something, a little problem or whatever it occurs, rather than to, storm out and say, I'm not going to work with you, behave like a little child or whatever, a fit or something?
Yeah, it doesn't get like that, does it? I don't think.
Not really, no. But I think that the thing is about, even if you, I think, you know, a lot of artists are children anyway, and I don't discount ourselves. But I've always found that if either of us have got in a temper, it's largely directed at a specific track or a song, or it's not really at each other. Do you know what I mean? It's like a kind of positive ranting. If you've got a kind of disagreement about something, it just seems, you know, I don't know how clear I can put this, but you're really doing it for the benefit of the tune or the song that you're trying to create, the record you're making. And, you know, you come to an agreement in the end, or you have to decide, you know, which way you're going to go, one way or the other. But I don't think we have a kind of personal disagreement. It might look like something like that from an outside point of view.
And I would say that it's very rarely anything to do with our own personal egos as well. This is just what you're saying, I suppose, really.
Yeah, and it hasn't really actually occurred that much anyway, but there's always there seems to be one track or a certain crunch point on an album where you like both crack up at the same time over something and you're not quite sure, you know. And we start talking about all the people that we both hate, things that we agree on and all that. Decide it's the world's fault, you know.
The band has slimmed down for one member. The drummer has left. Now it's a trio. And any possibility you tour in the light of that? You know, that you have to find a new drummer and, you know, a few other members.
Yeah, no, we definitely like the idea of touring again later on this year, probably September time. And especially the idea of presenting this LP as well, which would be quite a challenge. But we also want to do something different as well. We want to use a different stage set and a completely different band, and I don't know, just kind of rethink a lot of things. I want to try and make it more of an event, playing live, than it has been like the last 2 years or so, which by and large has been pretty draggy, really. But again, it's, you know, it's partly our own faults. It's a question of attitude, really. You know, sometimes it's like the same thing, sort of thing I was trying to say about songwriting, that sometimes you only just see what's immediately around you. You can't see what else you could do. But once you get into that frame of mind, you know, lots of possibilities open up to you. So we definitely do some touring, but we want to do something different at the same time, you know. I don't know quite what yet, but...
As your album title suggested, you played home and abroad. Where do you prefer?
I always prefer abroad. It's a lot more exciting, I think.
Yes, it is, I agree. This is something we've said quite often, you know. I don't know exactly the reasons. I've got my ideas about it, but it just is better abroad, you know.
I think it's partly a national characteristic of this country. There's not enough people in this country that love life or enjoy living that much. Most of the time it's just existing. And I would say that's a complete contrast with, say, for instance, the Italians. You just sort of get the sense of that they actually enjoy life. It's probably a lot easier to do over there because they've got the sun most of the year round as well. All those aspects of it. But it's just more in keeping with how we feel about things. Everything over here always seems like a chore and a real drudgery of doing everything, whether it be work or leisure or music or concerts or whatever, you know. I always get that feeling it's always a big drag to do this or that.
It's a generalisation, but I think, you know, in this country, people are quite set in their ways. If you're trying to do anything different within art, for want of a better word, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to do it in England, I think. It's made its hardest, particularly from a musical point of view, I guess. Maybe people would disagree with me and say, like, it's even worse in the States. I don't know.
All through your career, you've been rather shying away from private life, you know, exposing about the private life.
Not in my private life, I haven't.
What I wanted to say is that the normal popularity nowadays is that you let the media probe, you get your private life exposed and exploit it for the extra attention. You've never done that in, you know, all through your career. Was that intentional, Or did somebody, did you see on other examples on other musicians or whatever?
Well, I don't see what it's got to do with anyone else. I mean, I'm a musician and a songwriter, and that's it. And what I do the rest of the time is my business, no one else's. And probably more importantly than that, what I do in my spare time isn't that interesting either. So at the end of the day, who gives a shit, But I don't like all that side of it, and the people who get involved in that side, I don't really regard as artists or musicians anyway. They're celebrities, and there's quite a big difference. And I don't see how they can be that serious about their art or what they do if they're willing to talk to any of the tabloids. I don't know. I mean, it's a quick route to success. There's no doubt about that. But at what cost?
As well as a quick route to a downfall.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you play the game, then you've got to expect the consequences. But it's not really my scene at all.
The one thing you always express your opinion on is to support the Labour Party. I understand that there is...
not exclusively, but yeah.
Yeah, well, you were critical as well, but, you were more than a conservative. More on the Labour side than the conservative side.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard a talk that there is another Red Wedge tour planned. Are you going to be involved with it, or...?
If they let us know about it, yeah. First I've heard about it. But... yeah, we probably would be. If we'd be interested. Depends if we get asked.
No, I just heard about it, and there was a rumour that sometime in the autumn they are going to embark on another tour.
I don't know anything about that, to be honest, so I don't know.